We are now joined by UFC lightweight Clay Guida. Clay, thanks for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having me. Even though I can't see you, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, our first question is from Gabriel Gonzalez with Kate Side Press.
Okay, go for it, Gabriel.
How you doing, Clay?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much. Sorry for running late, guys. I had to go get my little, I guess, morning or noon run in, and I went over by the new, for all you NFL football fans out there, I went out by the new Raider Stadium. They call it Allegiant Stadium, something like that for the airlines. But for all you football fans, man, that is going to be the coolest stadium in the NFL besides the one they're building in LA right now. So you guys got a lot to be excited about in Vegas, and all the Oakland fans are going to be coming down for games. It's pretty sweet.
You fought in a ton of places. What do you think about, being on a card in a place like that?
Oh, fighting in a stadium like that would be absolutely bananas, man. I think the biggest place I've ever fought, I had to say, was maybe might have been the United Center back home in Chicago. I think 25,000 capacity. Yeah, I can't think if I fought anywhere bigger than that. But yeah, I mean, to be on cards, like in Australia or when they did the huge one, I was actually cage side at the biggest one in Toronto, 65,000 seats. And when GSP fought Jake Shields and Randy Couture had one of his last fights. And I was actually sitting in the wrong seat, and someone kind of bumped me on the shoulder, and they're like, "Move over, Guida." And I look over to my right, and it was Steven Seagal, and he was actually pretty cool. He started laughing, but yeah, that place was just absolutely insane. They brought multiple bleachers in just to fill the stadium, and me and my buddy, we were there watching the fights, and we're looking around, and I saw it up in the outfield, and there was hotel rooms in the stadium. I forgot that when the Blue Jays play there, there's actually hotel rooms, glass windows looking down into the stadium. So that's pretty sweet, man. But yeah, I would love to fight in front of a huge crowd someday. It's always been a dream of mine. The old Pride days at the Saitama Super Arena in Japan would be awesome. Yeah, it'd be cool to hear the fans chanting Guida in a big 50 or 80,000 person venue or something like that.
I'm glad you bring that up. Obviously, one of the biggest times where you got that big cheer was your fight with Diego Sanchez, which I don't know if anyone's told you, it'll be this Saturday's fight, 11 years to the date of that fight. Do you take anything from that kind of coincidence or that symmetry?
Hey, man, I'm glad you brought that up. I knew because last year when we had our Hall of Fame induction, thank you very much to the UFC. Thank you for Diego Sanchez because I couldn't have done that by myself, obviously. And it's amazing because it feels like that was just yesterday. And this whole fight week has been awesome. A lot of similarities to my UFC debut back in 2006 at UFC 64 in Mandalay Bay. And when I got into my hotel room this week, I opened the window just to kind of see what my view was. And boom, first thing that popped out was Mandalay Bay is the only casino I can see from my, from my hotel room. So that's pretty special. And then I just went for a run, and I was by the Orleans, which is near the Palms, and some of my greatest fights, even though I didn't get my hand raised, the Huerta fight, the Diego Sanchez fight, the Anthony Pettis fight, those will be ones that people always remember. And it's there's so many reminders, of the beginning of my career and all the cool things, all the cool experiences, the people, the relationships, the fans that we've met, the places we've been, places we've traveled to. One thing I took from the Diego Sanchez fight is what my coach and my brother were telling me all camp. Don't back up, dummy. Don't back up. And what did I do at the very beginning of the fight? Diego rushed me, and I just kind of backpedaled, and then came the onslaught, and he just, that barrage of punches and knees and kicks, and he opened me up, and then the kick heard around the world. So I definitely take several things from that fight, but that was one where the whole tide of the fight changed immediately. And I thank him for that because he taught me a valuable lesson, and that probably got the fight of the year, nod just because of that exchange right there. So thanks, Diego. We're coming up on 11 years, man. Pretty amazing. We're still going at it.
Hey, thank you, Clay.
Thank you, sir.
Our next question is from Mike Bond with USA Today Sports.
Hi, Mike. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, Clay. How are you?
I'm very well. Thanks a lot for having me on the show, man.
No worries at all. I'm curious, how excited you were when this fight with Bobby came back across the table. Obviously, you were supposed to fight UFC 225, and it didn't happen. And I know you were pretty upset. You did talk some trash. You called him a coward, Bobby Yellow, all that kind of stuff. Do you still hold any of that resentment towards him?
Nah, that's one thing. I've never been personal, you know what I mean, with my opponents. I don't know them well enough to dislike them. I don't dislike anybody, you know what I mean? Life is too short for that. I know it's going to be a dogfight. I know Bobby's going to come prepared. He's going to come ready because I know he wants this fight too. And he's a gamer, you know what I mean? He comes to put on a show. He's flashy. He's, excuse me, good striker, good wrestler, good athlete. And it's going to be a great fight, man. It's a bummer that he's had to back out of a few fights. A couple against my coach Danny Castillo. So I'm getting this one. I'm doing this one for the team. There's some payback. We were going to put on a show in Chicago, but hey, it's better to be back here in Vegas and on my 30th UFC fight. So I'm super pumped about this matchup, and I know he's going to bring his best game.
Yeah. So at the time, was it just frustration that you had lost a fight, maybe uncertainty around that, and it kind of just came out a little bit towards him?
Oh man, it's just hyping up the fight. That's all. You know what I mean? To me, the only ones we're hyping up are the main events. You know what I mean, when they're talking trash, because those are the ones that get all the eyeballs on it anyway. So, yeah, we're ready to rock and roll come Saturday night.
Well, and I'm curious, one last thing, the elements going into this fight on Saturday. You're a guy who feeds off the energy of a fight night, of a crowd, all that kind of stuff. None of that is going to be there on Saturday. How do you think that's going to impact you, from a mental perspective, from your energy in the cage, all that stuff?
Yeah, you make a good point, man. But I tell you what, we got people coming. We call it the Guida Mafia: friends, family, teammates, relatives, coaches, kids I've coached from coast to coast are coming out to Vegas, and don't be surprised to hear that Guida chant throughout the strip, throughout downtown Vegas, all over the place, man. I know it'll be silent there, but I know each and every one of our fans and friends, family members, they're going to be right there with me like they always are, man. So we put on a show for the fans. It'll be kind of cool to be able to tune them out a little bit and focus on the coaches. But that's one thing I think sets real competitors apart and the best athletes apart from the rest is being able to focus on, the task at hand. And I've always been able to hear, my head coaches and my brother, my cornerman, even when we're fighting in a jam-packed stadium like Vegas, or Anaheim, the Duck Pound, I fought Ben Henderson, you know what I mean? It's just, that's really what sets, the best apart from the rest. So I'm pumped that everyone's going to be out here. And to me, it'll be like, I'm sure you've heard this a lot. I grew up, from a lot of wrestlers. But yeah, I grew up in a small little village where there'd only be maybe 10 people in the entire gymnasium. So it'll be like that or just another sparring session at the gym, man. So task at hand, get the hand raised and just go out and have fun like we always do.
Yeah, and one more actually. Do you think the small cage benefits you? Because I know you fought there before, right? I like the palms and stuff. So you're a little more familiar with this environment than a lot of these other fighters will be.
Yeah, well, my last fight here was against Anthony Pettis, and I believe it's that same 25-foot WEC cage. So
Yeah.
It definitely favors me. Everyone knows I like to close that distance and make it a dog fight. So come Saturday night, you guys will see.
Well, thanks, Clay.
Thank you, sir.
Next question is from Damon Martin with MMA Fighting.
Yo, what's up, Damon? How you been, man?
I'm good, Clay. How are you?
Very well. Great to hear from you, man.
Absolutely. So I kind of follow what Mike said there. You are a guy, we all kind of wish we could bottle your energy going into a fight. But do you feel like that actually will help you, going in, coming out to your music and Jason, giving you a couple slaps? Like you always have that energy, and I know you do feed off the crowd, but do you feel like that will help you, that you always are you always keep that energy going into a fight? Because some people have said it is weird walking out without a crowd and not having people cheering, things like that.
Yeah, I think it's only going to benefit us. You know what I mean? I'm able to channel that aggression, channel that excitement, into my coaches, into the fight. And you guys know how I get. Sometimes the walkout is more fun and more exciting than some of my fights. You know what I mean? So that minute or 90 seconds, however long that walkout is, man, to me, it's I say it all the time. It's a rock concert. I'm the lead singer. I'm the sound guy. I'm the drummer. I'm the lead guitarist. You know what I mean? I'm the manager. I'm security. That's my concert. That's my stage. And nothing's going to change, man. I'm going to lead the dance come Saturday night with or without a crowd. I know people be cheering across the country, across the world for us. And the fact that it's on ESPN, I just found out. I thought we were going to be on ESPN Plus. I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but I'm pretty sure the whole card's on ESPN. So I'm pretty pumped about that. It's awesome.
Yep, you are on ESPN. That's true. With that being said, you're a guy, Clay. You've been around the sport and been fighting at the top of the sport for so long and so many years. I had this conversation with Jim Miller about a week ago. Like, what do you feel like separates guys like you and Jim and maybe a Joe Lozon, those guys who have been around, continue to fight the best guys in the world, and have a career? You mentioned you debuted in 2006. I mean, we got to be honest. The guys who were fighting at that same time in 2006, the list of guys still fighting in the UFC today is very, very slim.
You know what? That's a great point you make, man. And I can attest it to just simple toughness, durability, and a never say die attitude. If it's something you really love, you're always going to keep passion for it. You're never going to let that die. You know, that tradition. And that tradition started years ago when I was 6 years old in the sport of wrestling. I got in this before I even knew, you could make money at it. I used to call it vending machine money when I used to fight on, some of these old, these old Midwest organizations, the Extreme Challenge. Monty Cox would give me and my brother what I call vending machine money. We would get like $50 after a night of fights. You know what I mean? And that was literally all we could spend it on, man. We would go right to the vending machine at the little hotel that we would be put up at, in Minnesota or Iowa or Indiana or Wisconsin or somewhere in Illinois. So obviously the first passion, the first thing is always, you got to love the sport. You got to really, want to do this for, first for the love of it, then, second, make a living. And we've been very fortunate to, have some success at this. And number one, the sport of wrestling has gotten me here. It's kept me here. And I feel like I can speak on behalf of guys like Jim Miller, you know what I mean? Who is, I've looked up to for so long. I was lucky to get in there and, have a short go at it with him. And, Jim's one of those guys, Donald Cerrone's he's got 30, I think most 34 or 35 fights between him and Jim Miller. They have the most fights ever. It just comes down to mental toughness. And, I've had 1,000 wrestling matches in my life, just about. So it's at the end of the day, it's all about wrestling, man.
And last question to that point. We see the videos you training out with the guys at Team Alpha Male. You're still in there. You still love it. Seems like you always have a smile on your face. Would you say your passion for the sport now is just as great as it's ever been?
Yeah, absolutely. What Uriah Faber has done, I call it the MMA Mecca, or his gym, the Mecca of MMA. What he's done over there, and not to mention we've got a new 12,000 square foot addition. So it's literally one of the biggest gyms and probably in the country. I think we're pushing 40,000 square feet, and what he's done for the sport, what he's done for his members, what he's done for the city of Sacramento is astronomical. You know what I mean? To see guys not just come from around the U.S., but people come from all walks of life, all over the country, all over the world to come and train with Team Alpha Male. And that speaks volumes, for Uriah, for the brand that he's created. And he's never asked for a penny from anybody. He's always done it just out the goodness of his heart. And, being there for the last 5 years is really helped, get me to that next level, that next stage of my career. And that's what's going to keep me here for a while. It's the pedigree of wrestling. You know what I mean? He runs it like a college wrestling room because he wrestled in college, and that's what I really needed to be around. It's just fun. I love working out with those guys, and we're all very like-minded, and we push each other to extreme limits. You know what I mean? And we know we can beat anybody, and that's the place to do it.
Thank you, Clay.
Thank you so much, D.
Our last question is from Alistair Bishop with MMA Republic.
Hey, how you doing, man? Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Clay. How's things going?
Very, very well. Thank you. How about you?
Fantastic. Thank you. The first question's from South Africa. We want to know when we're going to see fins and feathers out here in South Africa.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that one more time? Oh, when are we doing? You say when are you doing a fins and feathers in Africa?
Yes, sir.
We're gonna have to talk to Chad Money Mendez, my business partner and teammate, about that one, man. I would love to come down there. I know Chad's hunted some exotic game out in New Zealand. I think red stag, him and TJ Dillashaw. And he's hunted all over the country, and I believe a few different countries as well. So I would love to come on that trip. I'm just starting now to learn to hunt. I've only gone on a couple of hog hunting trips, and they were both super cool. I feel very spoiled. I got to do my first one in Florida with my dad, my daughter, her stepdad, my nephew, my brother-in-law, and we got to shoot these hogs out of swamp buggies. They're like these cool looking, they look like rock climbing like outer space moonwalker like mobiles, man. So those are pretty sweet. And then my next one was on a Fins and Feathers trip. Chad Mendez asked me to go on a helicopter hog hunt for him because he couldn't make it. So we got to go out to this amazing ranch near Austin, Texas, in the middle of nowhere. And yeah, I shot pigs from a helicopter. Pretty, pretty sweet. It was like a video game, man. Yeah, it was like cheating, man. So yeah, I would definitely I'll run that one across Chad and look us up sometime. Shoot us an email. Shoot him a message on his Instagram or whatever on his shoot him on his email, and maybe we'll come down to Africa, man.
Fantastic, sir. Just want to ask about this more recent part of your career. BJ Penn, Jim Miller. You had a little session in the quintet. Gregor Gracie, Renato Sobral. It just seems like you've carried through this excitement and just generally having a good time. So what are the fights that you're looking for that will really get you excited at this point in your career?
Yeah, you know what? That's a very good question because it seems like lately I've been just fighting veterans for as long as I can remember now. I don't remember fighting like a new up and comer. And I think maybe the UFC, they like to pair me against them because they know it's going to be an exciting fight. They kind of like to keep guys that have been a name in the sport, a household name, whatever you want to call it. They want to match them up together because they know we're going to put on a show. And man, it was an honor. Yeah, I got to say, BJ was probably one of my favorite victories, man. And to be in there, obviously, he's fought everybody. He was, I believe, the first two-time champion. I think it went him and Randy Couture are back to back, in two different weight classes. Not to mention, he fought my original coach, Joey Gilbert, in their UFC debut, their UFC bout. And so it was cool to watch my career come full circle. Joey fought him at the beginning of their career, and I'm, fighting him. And that was, one of BJ's last fights in the UFC. So it's pretty special to me. Yeah, Jim Miller was, to fight a veteran like him who's good at everything was incredible. And then I got asked on short notice to do that quintet ultra, the Sakuraba grappling event. And I've never, I don't know, a lot of people don't know this. That was the first time I've grappled competitively. And I might be one of the only humans that has ever grappled a Gracie member family, in their first time ever, you know what I mean? When there's points on the board and things like that. So that alone was, I had to step up my game, man. And that was an honor to compete against the Gracie. And then, of course, I went against Renato Babalu Sobral, who was like 240 pounds, and I was like 165. So it was like me going against my brother, but he's way bigger. And that was super special. And to be on that stage in Vegas during fight week, New Year's week, pretty much. So many, legends in the crowd. Fabricio Verdun was right there. All the guys that were competing, Mark Munoz was there. My buddy, Chad Mendez was competing. Jay-Z Cavalcante, Sakuraba, Yves Edwards. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. It was incredible. Anthony Johnson, Anthony Smith. It was Mark Coleman came in there at the end. You know what I mean? He was like, "No way, this is the coolest thing ever!" Like you could tell he was so pumped. He wanted to jump in there and compete too. So events like that are great. I really wish we could do more of those because something, even when I hang up the gloves in MMA, I'm always going to continue to coach wrestling and get on the mats with, with my students, with the kids I coach, as long as I can. And one thing I would love to do is, still compete in grappling because it's an addiction. It keeps you in shape. It's fun and it's competitive. You know what I mean? So that drives me. But getting back to your question, some fights I would love to have in the future. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I'll never back down on this one. Nate Diaz has got it coming to him someday. I beat his ass once. I'll beat his ass again. If he ever, toes the line and they stop protecting him, you know my number, Nate. So don't be scared, homie. You know where we're at, buddy.
Fantastic. Last one from me, Clay. You spoke about fights with Diego Sanchez and those real hard-hitting fights that we've seen throughout your career. What do you think has been the key to your longevity after going through such kind of heavy fights?
What was the question? What's the key to my longevity in the sport after so many fights like Diego Sanchez and fights like that? Is that what it was?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I attested all to I owed all the sport of wrestling. Wrestling, for from a young age, it teaches you durability. You know what I mean? It teaches you mental toughness. It teaches you confidence that you can bring into life, not just on the mat, but in the business world, in your family life, every facet of life. And builds mental toughness, physical toughness, fitness, you're healthy. Faber says it all the time. Health is the ultimate wealth, and I believe wrestling teaches you those values at a young age that you carry with you through your entire life. And being smart, taking care of my body properly, and never laying off that gas pedal. You know what I mean? It's I'm either getting ready for a fight, or I'm coaching wrestling, or I'm staying in shape, or I'm traveling. I'm always doing physical activity. I'm fishing. I'm on the water. I'm chasing around my daughter. Hanging with my nieces and nephews. I'm on the wrestling mat with these kids, and constantly, it's constant evolution. And I think it's good. To stay physically fit. Through those ways that are fun, that are active, and putting in the. I get to perform come Saturday night. That's what it's all about. I want to put the best show on for you guys, because you guys, spend your hard-earned money on it, and the least I can do is, give you guys a good show. That's what you deserve.
Fantastic. Thank you, sir. All the best for Saturday night.
Thank you so much, man. Cheers.
That's all we have for you today, Clay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.